Hi. Did you know that you can watch Last Podcast on the Left and side stories on our Patreon right now?
Yes, that's patreon.com/Last Podcast on the Left. But over on TikTok, you can see the hottest, tightest, funniest clips from the show right there.
It's TikTok.
It's at LP on the Left. It's the same as our Instagram. You already follow the Instagram. Why don't you go follow TikTok?
But it's on TikTok.
Yeah, because seeing is believing.
Yep.
So just go check it out. Watch it.
Go send our podcast to China.
I love TikTok the crocodile. It's my favorite TikTok.
That's the only one he knows.
Hey there, intrepid Patreon listeners. Thank God for you. Every day I wake up and I don't go on a spree of mayhem because of you, my incredible Patreon subscribers. Hi, I'm Henry Zabrowski. I'm sitting here with Ed Larson.
Hello, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good.
Big day for you today.
I'm very excited about talking to this gentleman who's an expert. Well, he's a jack of every single UFO trade, which again makes him my favorite person, but also probably you got to get him in there. He's ready to talk about aliens. He's going to take over Thanksgiving. That's for certain. I would love to be at Thanksgiving with you. This is the director, investigative journalist, and the documentarian. You just made the brand new documentary, Transmedium, Fast Movers, and USOs, talking all about our submerged friends that are harassing the U.S. Navy. Everybody, this is Darcy Weir. Thank you so much for being here, man.
Thanks for the intro, Henry. Ed, nice to meet you guys.
Good to meet you too,
Dude,
Mr. Weir.
Good ginger beard, man.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit of white in it, but
Embrace it. It
comes with the UFO territory, man. You learn some things and you get a few white hairs.
It's like being president.
Ever since I started to get mine, I feel like people take me this much more seriously. So keep them.
I mean, it helps if somebody takes you seriously. So maybe I'll just dye the whole thing white, right?
Dude, go full bleached.
Yeah,
because
maybe I'll take after my grandmother and do like a pearl head dye and then, go white on the beard.
Man, and then
perfect.
that's like, it fits documentarian.
Call me Q-Tip.
Yeah, you mean my bro Q-Tip? He knows everything about USOs, dog. I mean, like, yes.
And he can't rap.
Hey, this never stopped anybody before.
Yeah, that's true.
So do you even try to approach what you cover within the world of ufology? It's all of it. You pretty much run the gamut of the entire phenomena within your series. Because you also run a series. You directed a series called Beyond the Spectrum, which is great. That covers a lot of stuff just within that little umbrella sphere.
Yeah, I kind of re-released it in a bunch of separate docs because I had originally dealt with a distributor, a film distributor, and then kind of left them and relaunched a lot of these documentary ideas in terms of, different slices of the UFO phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
And the original Beyond the Spectrum stuff, you can't really see anymore. It's been taken down, but
I went looking for it.
It started with the idea of things existing in our reality that were beyond our visual and our mental spectrum, right? So the human eye can see between really far in the red spectrum of the color of light called infrared. As soon as you go into infrared, you stop seeing that end of the spectrum. And then into the very other opposite of the color spectrum is purple, and beyond that is ultraviolet. And we're basically dealing in wavelengths that the human eye can't pick up. And it seems that different UFO hunters throughout history have been using cameras that access that light spectrum, infrared, and they can usually pick up these UFOs. And then, NASA, for example, they created a camera called the Far Light Ultraviolet camera, which they nicknamed a glow cam. And they took that into their space shuttle missions, like the STS missions that were building the International Space Station. And whenever they turned on the glow cam and they were outside the Earth's atmosphere, they were seeing so much stuff. And I documented a lot of that sort of UFO activity that was happening outside our atmosphere that NASA was capturing on their, state-of-the-art cameras, capturing a light spectrum the human eye can't even see in. And they were tracking them. And some of these video clips that I've put together in this documentary series, you could see them literally focusing in and following UFOs. But that behavior seemed to sort of change over the years.
Is that the type of stuff that looks like donuts? They have those weird things that look like donuts that kind of go in and out that look like that we for some reason we can't see them, but they're literally beyond the spectrum of our sight.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably thinking of one of the most famous UFO videos is called STS-75, and it's the space shuttle mission where they launched this giant tether that was supposed to. It had this globe on the end of the tether, and they were going to suspend it in open space. And when they activated it, it was supposed to try and pick up electricity that was innate, that was just naturally in the void of space. And the moment they turned it on, so much electricity shot through it that it shorted out the tether's basically had a breaker box at the base of it connected to the space station, just in case there was too much electricity that came through it, so it didn't fry the whole space station. And the tether blew up and disconnected and then basically flew off into space. So the rest of that mission that they were recording this video, they're tracking the space tether in the middle of space. And you see all these sort of, for a lack of a better word, space donuts flying around the tether in the ultraviolet light spectrum. It looks like black and white footage.
Yeah, it's weird as hell.
Yeah. And, a guy named David Sereda became pretty famous for breaking down that footage. Another guy, a fellow Canadian who was kind of stalking NASA's space camera footage. His name's Martin Stubbs. I met him. I interviewed him for my documentary series called Secret Space UFOs. And
yeah, dude. Yeah, because you have a whole world on the secret space program as well, which is kind of the idea that there is a separate entity within either outside of NASA or within NASA or within what we now call the Space Force, whatever that's going to be. That right, isn't the idea that they are operating and doing things outside of our awareness?
Yeah, I think what people don't realize is that NASA was inextricably linked with the Air Force since its inception. I mean, it started as NACA in 1958. The Air Force launched NACA. And then a year later, in 1959, it became NASA, the National Aeronautics Space Administration, right?
Yes.
And because of their link to the Air Force, they follow the same classification protocols with safeguarding data from the public. Because, look, this is the tip of the spear in terms of science. They are the military's best nerds. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
And when these nerds...
It used to be Germany's best nerds.
Yeah, I mean, originally it really was a lot of Germany's Nazi nerds, if you want to call them that, from Project Paperclip days. They were bringing them over post-World War II. Werner von Braun, who was the head of the V2 rocket program that was trying to bomb London with rockets. He ends up getting absorbed into NASA and was the person responsible for putting us on the moon. I mean, it was his advanced rocket program within NASA that allowed us to take off from Earth and send men in a capsule around the moon for the first time, right?
Yeah.
We haven't been back since, apparently. So, yeah, I guess like that whole series, Secret Space UFOs, I made 5 different documentaries in that. It just spans from the very beginning of NASA's inception with the X-15 missions, going through to the Mercury program, Gemini, which was called the Bridge to the Moon. They were testing out how to do missions in space, in cislunar space, orbiting around the moon, perfecting that, doing like extra vehicular activities. And then finally, the Apollo manned missions where they're actually going to the moon, they're landing on the moon. And, I've spoken to all these interesting guys that state, well, the moon has ancient technology there. And that's why the Americans wanted to get there first, because they wanted to maybe seize or capture some of this alien stuff that they were finding on earlier missions, like structures that look like they were created by some kind of intelligence before us, right? And so, yeah, there's a whole mystery to space, and NASA has to, I think, play dumb and pretend that there's nothing to see out there except for prosaic things like asteroids, comets, and natural space weather phenomenon, and then dead planets and no intelligent life, right? Whereas I think I'm convinced that they found signs of other life out there. They've probably found ancient megalithic structures sometimes on the moon. And I think they've also been part of the UFO cover-up on Earth. Whenever certain events have taken place, NASA has been asked by the public as an authority in science.
Never a straight answer.
And they give an answer that doesn't seem to even be scientific. It seems to be like a cover-up. It seems to be like a cover story. And they did the very same thing. I started off my documentary Transmedium with NASA's UAP conference, where they took the time to debunk the Go Fast UFO video.
They called it a radar artifact, right?
Yeah, and they said the object was traveling no more than like 40 miles per hour, although other scientists have done same, like basically trajectory and, all this different science, considering the FLIR technology and the type of craft that was tracking it, and said, no, this has to be going like over 100 miles per hour. And regardless, we don't have any drones that are spherical. We don't have traditional flight surfaces without wings, in other words. We don't have something that can fly spherically against the wind at even 40 miles per hour in the middle of the ocean, where we're carrying out these flight exercises in safeguarded, sensitive military restricted areas.
Oh,
right?
yeah, dude. And there's a lot to unpack here, too. There's a lot to unpack because that's even faster than our submarines, where it's like they literally go, that's the peak of our underwater technology goes like 40 knots
But
at most.
If it does exist, which it seems like these things do exist, why would NASA tell us? Like, shouldn't they, if they do work for our country, shouldn't they be keeping it a secret so other countries don't know?
I'm kind of on the other side, being like, I feel like if NASA has all these secrets, talk about a way to become the most funded government program is to being like, you got to go through to get to the aliens, you got to go through us. You got to give us a lot of money to develop a welcome center for the Pleiadians.
It's funny because that is the argument that Seth Shostak uses, right? And I interviewed Seth Shostak in his home for the Secret Space UFOs series I did before. And he said, why wouldn't NASA admit this, right? If NASA admitted this, then they could get all this funding from the government and the whole world could get behind them and we could get to the bottom of the alien existence in our own space, in our own atmosphere or outside our Earth's atmosphere, right? But the thing is, right, it's just like what Ed just said, right? I think it's a complicated game because if you listen to whistleblowers or the testimony of credible people that have been studying this phenomenon, like Richard Dolan, for decades now, the cover-up, it would serve two primary missions, right? One would be to facilitate that we do not have anything exotic, that we are only using technology that is fossil fuel based, and therefore making sure that our adversaries think that we're weaker than we are. Okay. If you believe that, like this guy, David Grush, came forward, right?
Yeah.
He said there are special access programs that exist. He's interviewed many witnesses that are part of them. They're not really great environments to work under. These people sign non-disclosure agreements that are binding for life, and they didn't necessarily even know it was going to be like that until they got into the program, and then they're kind of like trapped. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So you got guys like this coming forward, and they're saying, yes, we have crash retrieval programs, and we have for decades, like since the Pope was running the planet in the 1930s. And essentially, the cover-up facilitates making sure that any of that technology that we have been reverse engineering and we have been perfecting is ours, and that technology is protected from our adversaries' knowledge, right?
Because according to a lot of the UFO lore, America's kind of we have a lot of that technology, more so than China or Russia.
According to, people like David Grush and many others that have spoken before him, right? But what people will, if they listen to his recent disclosures, he's been saying that in the 1930s, for example, well before the fabled Roswell incident that happened in the 1940s, there was a UFO that crashed in Italy, and Mussolini scrambled his forces to recover the craft. The Vatican then took it, and they held it until they handed it over to the Americans, because it is, widely known at this point that the American military industrial complex are the best in the world at taking on projects like this.
Because we got the money.
We got the money, baby. Look at that military budget every year. It's like almost $1 trillion. Okay, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's fantasy money. It's not even. We're at a point where you're just like making up a number, and they could just get that. They just make the money for them to have.
Yeah, it's like make it happen, and they make it happen. They probably are trying to reverse engineer some of this stuff that they've caught, but you listen to guys like Bob Lazar. He's a really interesting person who's whistleblown on his experience with a supposed reverse engineering program. Some people say, oh, I don't believe him. But in the end, I think he definitely experienced something. It's a possibility that some of the information that was presented to him was false in order to, use some form of counterintelligence just in case their personnel leak this in the future. Mm-hmm. But I think he still went through something trying to analyze an exotic craft's propulsion system. And it's like that was the 80s. But even then, we've got AI and all kinds of technological advancements now that can help us discern what this stuff really is. I think disclosure may come with, the help of AI in some way.
Live from your grave.
Can I ask that? Where is our hard disclosure? Like, I know that we've been threatening. Grush has been saying that I guess the term now is catastrophic disclosure.
Yeah.
That they use, the idea of it's all just going to come out. Like, because we've all been in the UFO world for a long time. We've been hearing about this disclosure that's coming. They're like, it's coming, it's right around the corner. And we haven't got it yet because obviously it seems like we had a hard time with a novel virus. I don't know if we're going to have a really good time with aliens or like wrapping our head around
I don't think we will. And I think we'll have a hard time with the next pandemic because people just it's like we're at an all-time mistrust with our government. If you look at the history of this phenomenon, things happened in 1947 where the Air Force came forward and said, we recovered a crashed flying saucer. The next day, they republished the stories saying, oh, no, it was just a weather balloon.
Yeah, fucking assholes. Weather balloon my ass.
Yeah, and I mean,
that's a racist term in ufology.
Right, exactly. But that racial slur was widely accepted back in the day because people believed their government. People were, everybody was a countryman, right? Now we can't agree on anything. And it's really like a super divided Western world. You've got the United States divided, you've got the Canadian public divided, you've got the British public divided. It's actually kind of perfect for our adversaries to infiltrate our social media and turn the screws to us psychologically, right? But with this subject, in terms of where we're at with disclosure, I think catastrophic disclosure is a little bit dangerous.
Yes.
I don't think it's the right way to go. I think it really does need to be a drip feed. And I think that drip feed really did start in 2017. I mean, I was working on these docs. The first documentary I ever made was made for YouTube back in 2012.
How did you even get it? Like, how did you get this UFO bug? How did you get the ufology virus?
Yeah, the mind virus. Well,
because I came out of the box ready for UFOs as a child. I was ready to go.
I mean, look, I think our science fiction has been laced with the notions that we're not alone for a long time, right? Yeah. I mean, whether you're watching something like Star Trek or you're watching something like X-Files, it's just like an open sort of secret within our entertainment. But within fiction entertainment. But I mean, in 2009, I was starting to build my very first documentary. I heard about this guy when I graduated university. I heard about this guy, Phil Schneider, who's talking about helping build these deep underground military bases. And in the midst of his construction efforts, doing some geological surveys out at the Dulce, New Mexico area where that old Archuleta Mesa, the Dulce Archuleta Mesa is located. He came into a cavern that had these like evil aliens and they started a firefight and he got blown open. Yeah, and sweet. He had a Walter PPK with a 9-shot modified clip and
I went in there.
The aliens.
And I'll show you the scars. And then when he does that thing where you're like, it kind of felt like what Bob Seger does Against the Wind when he shows the scars. Everyone's just like, yeah, I knew he'd do it.
Yeah. And he's like, this is my hand now.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh shit, aliens fucking blew this guy.
Yeah, we're like, oh my God, those aliens flayed our man. But
he's fascinating though. We wanted to cover him honestly on the show, but his story is extremely tragic. Like Phil Schneider's story is very, very sad.
It's a scary story because, in my opinion, there was some truth to what he was saying, but obviously he beefed it up with this sort of like James Bond / Rambo character that he created for himself at these UFO conferences back in the day. And look, like these UFO conferences are still going on today. He started.
We're gonna be at one. We're gonna be at Contact in the Desert.
There you go. Yeah, we're gonna be living it up with pistachios in our hands at the best UFO conferences in the country.
I fucking can't wait, dude. Honestly, it's gonna be a blast.
But Phil started this interesting lore, and he. Really,
would you say that the Dulce Bay story was basically was discovered by Phil Schneider, or in terms of like that's what put it into the lexicon, like the Dulce Wars? And
you got to understand that even the Manhattan Project was being carried out in that area, right? The Los Alamos the city of science that was created to build the original nuclear bombs, that was all out that way before, Dulce, New Mexico was just along the way. And there's rumors that there's, an underground rail system that connects Los Alamos to Dulce, New Mexico's supposed base. I'm still like a firm believer that there's something under the Archuleta Mesa out there. There's look at the people that live there. They still talk about all kinds of really creepy stuff that they see at night, ant people, and like, you got the skinwalker lore out that way. You've also got UFOs that are being seen coming over the Archuleta Mesa all the time. And
it's like a little city.
It is.
Yes. Paul Benowitz, this famous guy that got duped by Richard Doty. He talked about the Dulce, New Mexico, Archuleta Mesa paranormal phenomenon until his demise, So it was like, it's been something that's been pretty speculative, but there seems to be something there. And his story is tragic because he dies.
Yeah.
And, we just want to know, was he onto something? Was he suicided, or did he really take his own life? I mean,
what was it? Because wasn't he strangled by his own oxygen cord? Like he did. Looked
catheter,
like
yeah, which is grisly, right?
That is a horrible way to go.
And it does seem like a whack style.
You already have
murder.
a catheter. Come on, leave the guy alone.
If you're getting choked, but if someone chokes you with your catheter, they're mad at you.
Yeah.
That might be the fact. Yeah, that might be the case. And, we were talking about disclosure, and I've spoken with Steve Bassett about this. And Bassett, who also says disclosure is happening every day of every year now. But the big D disclosure from the president never actually has happened.
Yeah.
He also has said, you can strangle yourself with your own catheter cord if you really want to. And it's like, yeah, but there was just so many other things. Like when I first started that documentary, full circle here, you're asking me how I got into this. I reached out to, and I did my detective work and found Cynthia Dreyer, who was his late wife, who he had a child with, Marie. And she said, I believed everything he said. He warned us that he didn't want to kill himself, and he was happy and he was making progress with what he was talking about. And when the detectives, the Clackamas County detectives, came upon his body, there was blood on the floor. His head was face down in his own wheelchair. Like, not really a situation where you would, if you were trying to do it yourself, wouldn't you lie yourself up in the bed, lace yourself with drugs, and, kind of set yourself up in some way that, when you fall asleep, you can't take your catheter cord off your neck or whatever? But that wasn't the case. They found his face down in his own wheelchair, and his wheelchair was beside his bed. So it was
it's very suspicious.
It's suspicious. It's a little bit different from just walking into an apartment, seeing somebody hanging. Then you're like, okay, this person committed suicide.
Yeah.
So
they did a better job with Epstein,
but he's in a wheelchair. He can't.
Yeah,
they did a better job.
Broke his neck real good. But so you have these situations where it just doesn't add up, and then they got the coroner at the funeral home was who found the catheter around his neck. The police did not, because his neck was so swollen. He was a bit overweight. That's when they started an investigation to see if there was foul play. And his ex-wife, who was his friend, they shared a kid. She really launched an investigation and wanted to find out what was going on here. So she reached out to the detective in the Clackamas County that was assigned to this case. She wanted to see the coroner report. She wanted to see his blood toxicology and urine samples to see if there was drugs in there, to see if he had really laced himself up. They lost the blood and urine samples, which is strange again.
Yeah.
And then when his death was pronounced in the newspaper, it said of natural causes. So it was just a whole bunch of weird stuff.
He could have just straight up got somebody angry about the idea of just even talking about the tunnels. Like, it doesn't have to be aliens. Like, just talking about the nature of our underground bunker system, which is apparently extremely extensive. Like, like all of these giant boring companies, literally what they're called, like these big, huge, like that's like an entire conspiracy theory is within the world of the companies, the construction companies that build our super secret underground bases are like, that's like where the secrets are. Like, that's actually where the secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In those safes.
Do you worry about this? I mean, you've made what? 10 documentaries?
Like 20.
20. Do you worry about this happening to you? Do you feel like you're being watched?
Well, I released Transmedium, and the week before I started speaking to people on shows like this, my main desktop that I do all my editing, and I'm like, compiling all my video footage and graphics and visuals and 3D effects and stuff, was hacked. I literally walked into my office, turned on this OLED TV screen I use for my editing, and the mouse was moving, and they were inside my email and going into my Google Drive. It was like the creepiest thing I've ever walked into. And I have a whole life prior to producing this stuff.
Yeah, you have another life. You have an outside of UFO life.
Yeah, I worked in IT, like I just worked for corporate head offices, and security is important when you're working at these places. And I never.
So you're saying that UFO documentaries haven't made you a multi-millionaire? But I don't understand.
Oh man, I wish. Yeah,
I thought that this was my way in. I thought that this was where the money was.
I tell you what, Henry, it is a stressful and a paranoid labor of love. That's what it really is. It's crazy. The community itself, you release something and 50% of the people are attacking you and 50% of the people are like, high five, so
we walk this walk as well. I know this.
Yeah, it's not the greatest, but it's an interesting world. It's like that. What if and fact is stranger than fiction sort of place to talk about ideas. And, the idea that our reality is really just manufactured and controlled. Yeah. So I find it fascinating.
Oh yeah. Like, can I honestly, like, and this is not like a skeptic's attack, because every day I change about what it is I actually believe. Does all of this research, does it clear things up or does it make things more hazy? Like, I'm both, like, the more I read, the more sometimes I wonder, like, because I'm become like a Robert Anton Wilson style, an agnostic across the board, where I'm like, just fucking anything but bore me, like, just like, let's just have it be something fun, Yeah.
Like, put some salt on my meal, maybe sprinkle a little bit of Bigfoot in my life today.
Yeah.
So look, I'm pretty agnostic at this point too. I don't, have some allegiance to any certain person or sort of a spiritual belief. I'm actually skeptical about spiritualism and all that stuff. I would say that I'm more of like a science-minded person. I'd like to think there's something physical to this phenomenon, but
like, what's the thing you think that you learned? Like, what is all of this years? What's like a thing that's like been elucidated by all of this research?
Well, look, if we get more testimony from people like David Grush, I think that would elucidate the idea that what many people have been saying over the decades is true, that we are interacting with a non-human intelligence on the planet, whether that's, the War of the Worlds, Orson Welles, style ET, extraterrestrial or just something that lives in our oceans that's non-human, you know? And that's what kind of the Transmedium documentary is about. It's like, what if there's something that's here and it's like, it has mastery of a domain, not only in our skies, and we've been talking about that for many decades, seeing things, UFOs flying around in our atmosphere, but maybe the oceans, which is 71% of our planet.
Yeah.
And it's out of sight, out of sound, just like these underground bases would be, right? I think there's a lot of things that I initially probably believed, but now I'm kind of like, like I probably believed that Phil Schneider got into a firefight with aliens, but now I'm like, no.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
And I initially believed Billy Meyer's story, but then you talk to guys like Mr. Horn, and I'm like, woo, crazy.
Yeah. Bing, 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 bing. It's nice that you can still have crazy alarms. Isn't that nice after all of these years? You still can be like, all right, you're crazy.
Yeah. But look, Men in Black, right? That phenomenon of somebody showing up to an experiencer's front door, whether that's them just seeing a UFO and taking pictures of it somewhere over North America, or people that have actually witnessed extraterrestrial beings and been harassed by Men in Black. I think that's a real phenomenon. And I think what the Men in Black are is just many different servicemen within our intelligence or our security agencies. So you've got, your first line is Air Force OSI, Office of Special Investigations. They would probably be trying to cover up special craft, high technology craft that the United States Air Force is testing out. Therefore, they go out, they convince you it's a UFO you looked at. Oh, we need those pictures. It's for national security. They confiscate your data. Mission complete, right?
Yes.
Then you got guys like John Callahan, who worked for the FAA, I think. And he was, read into the whole JAL Airlines, Japan Airlines incident over Anchorage, Alaska, where an object the size of 2 football fields that looked like a giant glowing sun in the sky emitted 2 smaller UFOs. The Japanese pilots were doing circles to try and evade these UFOs that were shooting lights into their cockpit. Like, it was extremely stressful, that thing. That was all recorded by the FAA. Guess who comes in to confiscate that and hold a special meeting with John Callahan and all the upper brass that were investigating that commercial flight incident? The CIA, right? So that's a different layer of security that wants to control this subject. So you got the FBI, you got the CIA. The FBI is like the old wink, wink, nudge, nudge X-Files type people that are
the G-men. Yeah.
G-men, right? You got the NSA. You've got all kinds of slices of security and intelligence that are trying to keep this subject under wraps. So I think the Men in Black phenomenon is real. It's just, and then when it gets into that sort of alien Men in Black thing.
Yeah, the woo Men in Black. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not saying I discount that, but I think there's just more credibility to our intelligence trying to control the narrative on this subject as much as they can. So the things I've learned are, A, we probably have our own craft that we're testing out that are, spooky aircraft that people might think are aliens. And then we also probably have interacted with the non-human intelligence to some degree, and that's been covered up by, the information gatekeepers in the world.
Oh, yeah, because all it takes is one. Remember Roger Clinton? All he's got to do is get in there and destroy our relationship with the Greys, and we're all screwed. You know what I mean? Like, they got to be really, really careful who they let in front of these NHIs.
Yeah, those NHIs. Some of them are good. Some of them are bad.
I find that interesting. I also like the idea of like if they are real, like who you can trust and who you can't. Like once you're in that world of ufology, it is hard because like when you start being like, well, I actually am a friend with the Nordic. It's the reptilians you can't trust. Then you're like, oh no, like are we in disinformation zone, or am I actually talking to somebody who knows an alien?
Yeah, well, what if that reptilian is a vegan, just eats broccoli? Why you hate
There's got to be some cool ones.
Don't discriminate.
Live from your grave.
So, all right. I'm new to all of this, so it's an honor to speak to you, to be honest with you. But so telescopes are better than ever. We see everything. Obviously, there's nothing in the Milky Way, but what are there planets out there that were like, that could be where they're from? Is there any like suspects? Is there any worlds that we're looking at that we're like, oh, maybe they're coming from there? Also, or planets, plural, because who says that they all come from the same place?
Yeah.
And so it's like, what are people, like, what are ideas of that? Because I'm dumbfounded.
I mean, there's been myths and fables of all sorts and kinds of origins for non-human intelligence in the ufology history, right? You've got, not that I believe it at this point, but you've got the fabled valiant Thor that came from Mars. And if people... No, he came from Venus.
Because he's purple. He's a purple guy, and he wore Valiant Thor. He left Venus because there was a change in government, and then he was working with the U.S. government in our intelligence community. He was purple, he had incredibly soft hands, and he wore an invisible suit so he could breathe on Earth.
Yeah, I'm talking galaxies away.
Okay, so if you want to talk about like one of the major stories that people listen to in terms of experiencers or abductees that have met a non-human intelligence. Betty and Barney Hill, they were abducted in the 1960s, and that's African-American and white couple. So they claimed that their captors came from Zeta Reticuli. Now, the interesting thing about their story, which kind of blew the socks off of some of the researchers at the time that looked into this, when Betty was just describing the star system that they were from, these non-human intelligence, they stated that they come from a binary star system, which at that time in the 1960s, we didn't even have the technology in astronomy to identify that Zeta Reticuli is actually Zeta Reticuli A and Zeta Reticuli B, a binary star system. So that's a really strange detail that came out of that incident, in which science later confirmed, yes, there is a binary star system there.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's
just some weird ass stuff. That's like true high strangeness.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a point where you're kind of like, are they telling the truth? Oh, my camera's acting up here, boys.
Oh, shit, that's fucking happening. We're getting fucking shut down, man.
They heard me. They heard me.
Okay, don't let Bezos know, dude.
Damn. All right, let's lower this light.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, you look good. Honestly,
all right,
you look
okay.
good.
We're going from from my DSLR to straight up webcam.
I like this is how we all really are.
Yeah. So essentially, that's and the interesting thing about their claim is they were one of the originals that said these beings had large oblong shaped heads. They had large black, they had almond shaped eyes that were much larger than ours.
Yeah.
But on top of that, the difference between their eyes and what people always claim as seeing a gray is that they actually had like pupils. They weren't like the grays that have these big sort of like lifeless looking black, like built-in Ray-Ban eyes. You know what I mean?
For all we know, they're sunglasses.
Well, also they honestly, Eddie, that's what they do say. They do say that they were some kind of biomechanical like suit or
Yeah.
they are robots themselves, especially Grace.
Yeah, they might be artificial intelligence. For all we know, they could be
Us in the future. I think that story is compelling too.
Or the past.
Michael P. Masters makes that sort of argument, right? That maybe this is us where we've evolved so far. We want to come back and as like an anthropological study, once we create time machines, we want to see what was it to be human at this point in time in history. And they're observing us. And, the cavemen that we are, we blow them out of the sky and then we start observing them, right? But yeah, I think like you hear about stories like Zeta Reticuli being a destination that they're from. Sirius is a star system that you hear about certain races being from. And I think that would have been the fabled Nordics, which I'm not even 100% sure are real. But like, look, I've spoken to experiencers that state that they've spoken to human looking aliens, like that they literally have had dialogue with something that's not from our planet, but is human.
Yes.
And
we did the story of what was it? Was it radiation? What was the name of that? It was Radar Harry. It was like a ghost horse. This guy with the tall whites, where it was a guy who was talking about.
You're talking about Charles Hall?
Yes. When he was working out in the silos, and then he was meeting these they were like indoctrinating him, and like he was like meeting with them and hanging out. It was very interesting. I love those types of stories.
So I lived in Australia at one point, and I interviewed when I was in Australia. I was kind of following the Westall 66 beat. I was really interested in their major mass witness sighting, which was during the day. Maybe one or two saucers touched down behind a school, behind a secondary and a primary school, like, grade 1 to 3 and high school, in this area called the Grange outside of Melbourne. And, over 200 students and adult teachers saw this. Men in Black sort of people intercepted and took away cameras and told the witnesses not to talk about it. It was a whole thing, right? So I was interested in that story. And I was part of this like New South Wales UFO group. And they would sometimes have, people in to speak and discuss UFOs from other parts of the world. And Charles Hall came, and I invited my friend, this guy, Andrew Dennis, who lives in Bondi Beach now. He's another Canadian, but was living out there. And I was like, do you want to come to this like crazy UFO lecture? This guy, Charles Hall, is going to talk about his experience with the tall whites, these like aliens that look like humans, but are like a bit more frail. But they live in the middle of the desert in like a military base that's, a joint program between humans and them.
Yeah, I read like 2 of those books because he had like 5, but he has like 5 books. I read 2 of them. It's crazy.
So long story short, my favorite part of Charles Hall's speech, which I even recorded and I still have on camera on one of my hard drives from all these years, he talks about being in the mess hall with the aliens. And he's like, you would not believe how much these Nordics like strawberry ice cream. I'm telling you.
I mean, it's good.
They go to the ice cream machine and they would fill up their cone so much. I've never seen aliens eat so much strawberry ice cream.
Now
I love
we know
you
how to win them over.
I love ufology, man. I love it. It doesn't get old. There's new things in each corner, man.
When I was watching this lecture, and as soon as that part of the speech happened, I looked over at my buddy Andrew Dennis, and he was looking at me, and we were just
yeah. Like, remember, this is serious. Remember, this man thinks that. But it is. I find it compelling. I find all of this, honestly, I'm a sucker for it. I love it. I do think that I'm with you. Something's going on. We've said, like, I don't know what it is. But I think everything can be considered with a grain of salt, and also an open mind. I think that you could look at it both ways and understand that there's stuff there, but be skeptical.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like, the truth is out there. Okay, we know to some degree.
We need to get that techno X-File onto like a soundboard.
Exactly. We know that there's some truth to the phenomenon, whether that's like a really deep cover up of our own technology that we've made breakthroughs with, like anti-gravity, or aliens coming to this planet and us meeting them secretly, covertly, and then saying, there's nothing to see here, folks. I mean, that there's probably truths to both of that. But what you get is you get people that enter the scene that exploit that, and they're going to tell their own flavor of the story. They're going to capitalize on this and become, they're going to get their 15 minutes of fame. And you get that with everything. You get that with Bigfoot, and I think there might be some truth there to Bigfoot. You get that with cryptocurrency. I mean, there's a guy that said he created Bitcoin that's been going to court for like the past 5 to 6 years and keeps being told by the court, you have no proof you created Bitcoin. But you have people that see something that's big, that's possibly real and happening, and they come into it and they do their thing. And it's probably always going to happen. And I think eventually we're going to get more truth out of, this fruit we call ufology.
Is there anything to leave our audience with? Like, we'll wrap up now. You're going to want to check out Transmedium. It's really good. I weirdly think that some of it's a natural phenomena that is mimicking us. I really think there's stuff out there that is just like, we just don't understand what's in the ocean, but a lot of it's very compelling. It's a great documentary. And I guess maybe one thing maybe you could leave our audience with before you leave is, what's one tip that you could give people to help, quote unquote, winnow towards the truth? Like, what's a way for people to look at a bunch of information and say, like, and try to figure out what is real and what is not real? Or like, you know what I mean?
I think, like, what's really important is to measure what we have done verifiably in science throughout history, So we've created these amazing computer systems and communication technologies and video, so that the world is a global village. We can pick up the phone or open our computers and we can communicate with each other instantaneously as if we're in the same room, which we're doing right now, right?
Yes.
This is exciting. This is technology that's acceptable. But then what powers all this stuff that we're communicating with around the world? It's a fossil fuel industry. So I think what you can look at in terms of technology, I think there's a type of technology that's accepted, that's protected by our worldwide economies so that we live within this box. And I think it's true that we're kept there. And I think there's a possibility that we might be broadening that spectrum of belief, that spectrum of truth as we go into the future, because artificial intelligence is going to speed up the progress of everything. I think AI, unless it turns on us and there's some kind of catastrophic 9/11 type of event that spurs from AI, I think we're going to have advancements pretty quickly in things that in the public we've been not allowed to have, right? So fusion energy, we did the breakthrough with that recently in the UK. If you have artificial intelligence pushing that further and synthesizing that to a greater degree for cheaper, we could be getting like renewable energy that completely changes this old world of fossil fuel economy. And I think opening up our consciousness to the idea that we're not alone in our universe, not alone in our on our planet to some degree, that will allow us to open up our sciences, our mainstream academic sciences, and allow us to push out into space like we haven't done before. Like really start to try and, Elon Musk wants to colonize Mars. I think that will become more of a reality.
Mm-hmm.
When we
Bring a
start
jacket.
Yes.
Yes.
So I think that's when you start to think about disclosure, it might aid in our ability to navigate the cosmos, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that might be a reason why the Pentagon or people within the military industrial complex and intelligence agencies want this to be broadened and more widely known in society, because it will help, push mankind to a new era and allow us to accept certain scientific truths that weren't accepted before.
That's really great. Mr. Weir, thank you so much for being here with us. Eddie, you want to leave with anything?
I'm very happy to have met you. I think that personally, as a new UFO guy, I think the concept of aliens and UFOs being here make a lot more sense than God. And so it's interesting for me to learn about this stuff. I'm excited for when we can finally become the aliens and go to other planets and find aliens ourselves.
Dude, we already are, bro. We're an alien. We're aliens on this rock, bro. Look at octopus.
Exactly.
Dude.
I mean, I also feel like the Earth is 4 billion years old. There could have been societies in the past.
Whoa. Now we're losing him.
I mean, dinosaurs are 65 million years. We can barely find those bones.
He's turning into Graham Hancock. We got a Graham Hancock.
We got a Graham Hancock. We got to get Michael Primo on the show.
Yes, I do.
Michael Primo.
It's been an honor to meet you. I can't wait to hang out with you.
Thank you so much.
We should do a couples massage at the Contact Festival.
Let's do it, man.
You can trust him in the dark. You can trust him in the dark. Dude, thank you so much. Check out Transmedium. It's on Amazon Prime. That's how I rented it. And it's a great. And then, honestly, if you want to know anything about UFOs, he's done it. So you just go through the lexicon. Is there anything you want to plug? Is there with the socials, or is like a website you want people to go to?
Yeah, sure. People can hit me up on Twitter. It's at Occult Journeys, which is my studio name where I develop all these really crazy documentaries about. And my website's occultjourneys.com. And then it's Darcy Weir Films on Instagram. So, dude, see you at Contact. Let's hit up some lectures and learn.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait.
I'm there to learn.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I'll be bringing vape. Don't worry, man. Woo, come on, bro. Dude, thank you so much.
Yeah, good to meet you, Henry. Pleasure.
Live from your grave.
And that was Darcy Weir. He did a good job.
Yeah, I like him. I you know what? I trust him.
You know what's funny is that he might know a little bit about the UFO phenomenon.
You think so?
I sometimes wonder, because I know everything he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
He went through a bunch of different concepts, and it's like, yep.
I started to recognize a couple names.
See,
but I still don't. I couldn't tell you what they are now.
I'm going to send you some more documentaries.
I like
it's not pornography.
I like documentaries.
Yeah, me too. I prefer documentaries.
Yeah.
So thank you, Patreon subscribers. Wow, you individually
are the aliens.
Yep,
you're them.
Yeah,
you don't know it. I'm telling you now.
Call the government on yourself.
That's right, man. You are the ones.
I already did it.
Yeah.
Called the government on you and your family.
English isn't real. What you actually are hearing is, and it just sounds like these letters.
I know less now. Goodbye, everyone. Hail Satan.
This show is made possible by listeners like you. Thanks to our ad sponsors, you can support our shows by supporting them. For more shows like the one you just listened to, go to lastpodcastnetwork.com.